As promised, here's a reaction video to Russell Brand's initial breaking of silence video, the video that he released after the allegations were published, because there are one or two things that he said in that video that I think need a little bit of clarification. Also, one or two things that I will hint at that I'll talk about in a later video about the online safety bill. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm Daniel Shensmith, a barrister of England and Wales, and I enjoy helping you to understand law, so please do hit that like button and subscribe if you find this video useful. Also, just as a heads up, I do have a partner for this video called Incogni. More about them a little bit later. So let's get straight into this video. Let me move to the screen share with this video, and I'm going to play not all of it, just one or two bits of it, and give you my thoughts as we go, because I think they are quite important. Let's get started with the video.
Hello there, you awakening wonders. Obviously, it's been an extraordinary and distressing week, and I thank you very much for your support and for questioning the information that you've been presented with.
So just pausing there. So he's quite clearly speaking to what he believes to be his supporters rather than the general public. So this is more a supporter announcement than it is a general public announcement because, in my view at least, he is speaking to them as though he understands that they are questioning, as he puts it, the information, as he puts it, that's been put into the media. And that's all it is at the moment, is information, allegations that have been published. And he thanks people that are watching for questioning that. And I don't disagree with that, because I think everybody should question what they read these days. I think the only time you should take it with more authority is if it is coming from a professional, you've paid for it, or it's an expert report, and even then they can be wrong, and even lawyers can disagree. So even if you were to get formal legal advice on something, you might get a second opinion. The second opinion might not agree with the first. So when it comes to allegations that are published, I would certainly agree that you should question those. This is not to say that they are well-founded allegations, and it's not to say that they are false, just that they should be questioned. So far, I do agree with that people should be questioning what's out there. Let's listen to the next bit.
By now, you're probably aware that the British government have asked big tech platforms to censor our online content.
Now, I have to pause at this point because that is not entirely true. Now, most people, I understand and I accept, will take the view that the British government has asked big tech to censor the content. Now, this is not quite true for a number of reasons. First of all, it is not actually the government that has made the question. It is a parliamentary committee, and it is written by a member of parliament. So yes, for all intents and purposes, it might look and feel like it's coming from the government, but it is a parliamentary committee which has a role and a responsibility and so on. So they've written these letters. That's the first bit, which is more semantics than anything else. But also, if we look at the actual letter itself, which is, again, I take slight issue with, although I will understand that you will agree with Russell Brand. Some of you will agree with Russell Brand in the way that he said it. But if we look at this letter again, as I have said this before, it is more that the committee was asking questions, more of an exploratory letter. Now, whilst there is obviously a knee-jerk reaction to the writing of letters by a parliamentary committee to private tech firms to say, what are you doing about this? There is a bit of an understandable, a natural, not unjustified knee-jerk reaction to say, why are these committees even coming close to getting involved in this? Well, I explained in another video why I believe, not necessarily that I agree or disagree with it, but why I believe that this committee did get involved in the first place. But coming back to whether or not the committee is asking the tech platforms to censor the content, I don't think that is quite accurate, although the result of it might well appear ostensibly to be the same. It's not quite an accurate statement. This one particular letter was the one to Rumble. Of course, they were written to several other tech firms as well. It's these couple of paragraphs here. We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content, including videos related to etc. If so, we would like to know whether Rumble intends to join YouTube in suspending his ability to earn money on the platform. And then secondly, we would also like to know what Rumble is doing to ensure that creators are not able to use the platform to undermine the welfare of victims of inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. Now, just as a brief interlude, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a partner for this video, which is called Incogni. And it's right on point because it's talking about your data and your privacy, the protection of your data and your personal identity. Because what happens is when you browse online and companies gather and collect your information, they put it all together and they think of you as a bit of a puzzle, so they can then sell you as a package to the highest bidder. They sell this on to different marketing companies, and these marketing companies in turn might sell it on to another marketing company, and your data is sold over and over again. If your information ends up in the wrong hands, then it might end up with bad actors, or worse still, on the dark web, where people then take your information and they go and apply for loans and credit cards. They might even go into shop fronts and take out a mobile phone contract and walk out with a £1,500 phone. How do we know this? We have clients that come to us regularly with exactly this problem. They are fighting off debt companies that are chasing them for the money under these contracts because someone else has stolen their identity and they are taking it in their name. They essentially take all of their information, they go into these companies, they have enough information to pretend to be them, and eventually they steal their identity. This is a very prevalent issue. So what can we do about it? Because that is the problem. Incogni is a service which you will get a special discount for because I'm a creator and I'm partnered with them, linked on screen and in the description below, which is a service that enforces your data protection rights, because you have the right to erasure if you don't want them to hold your data any longer. But if you were to go to these companies, and there are not just dozens, there are hundreds of these companies around that are brokering your data worldwide, and they are then selling it on. You can require that they delete your information because they are not supposed to have it any longer than is necessary or without your consent. So if you don't want them to hold your information anymore, you can put this request in with Incogni, with the link in the description below, and enforce your data protection rights and require that that data is removed. So I hope you find that useful. I genuinely use this myself. Please check it out and sign up. And thank you for allowing me to thank my partner for this video. Now back to the video. So this is the committee asking questions as to whether or not Rumble is going to follow suit with YouTube and what else it is doing to protect victims, or I would argue here, complainants of inappropriate and potentially illegal behavior. So potentially illegal, potential, allegations and claims and that sort of thing. So technically speaking, these are questions by the committee as to whether or not Rumble is going to do that and what else it is doing. Now, of course, I understand many of you are going to think, well, what's the difference? They are asking this clearly, as I even commented in one of my previous videos, when a government or parliamentary committee asks whether or not you're doing something, what they really mean is, in my view, is you should be doing this. And so what are you doing? But technically speaking, that's not what they said. So they are not writing to say you must do this because, of course, they don't have the power to do that. It would require a law and the passing of a law, which is something we're going to come on to. It would require the passing of a law that allows the government the power to shut down certain things, and that would be a catastrophic effect to private platforms and certainly to free speech. So whilst that is technically not the case, I certainly understand that most people are going to think, I would believe most people would think that this is the parliamentary committee pretty much asking this platform to do exactly that. But let's move back to the video and listen to the next bit.
And that some online platforms have complied with that request.
Now, two things here. First of all, actually twofold. One bit that I missed out. He said some platforms have complied with the request to censor the content. Now, what hasn't happened is the committee asking these platforms to shut down the content entirely. They've merely asked the question about monetization. And secondly, Russell here says that, I presume he's talking about YouTube ceasing monetization on his channel. But that is not the same as censoring the content. Now, again, many people might believe this is semantics and it might amount to the same thing as to censoring, censoring the monetization is akin to censoring the content, but not strictly the same thing. If this were purely about freedom of speech and the ability to put the content out, that hasn't changed. However, again, many people might just believe, understandably believe, that it might as well have done. It might as well be the same thing, because if you can't make money on the platform, there's almost no point in posting. Much like any other creator, whilst they would enjoy creating content, certainly a part of it is running it as some sort of business. So those are two very slight clarifications there. Again, it may be semantics. Again, it might be lawyerisms, but technically speaking, they haven't been asked to censor the content. And to my knowledge, none of them have complied with any such request that didn't exist to censor the content. Only questions about the monetization. Let's carry on.
What you may not know is that this happens in the context of the Online Safety Bill, which is a piece of UK legislation that grants sweeping surveillance and censorship powers, and it's a law that has already been passed.
Now, this is something that I'm going to come on to in a great more detail. It suggests that there are sweeping powers for government and so on. What it actually does is put the onus on tech platforms to report any illegal content within messages. Now, without getting bogged down into the technicalities of what this act does and the reasons for it and the criticisms of it, in very brief terms, what it means is if you've got you and another person having a encrypted conversation with each other on any one messaging platform, which is end-to-end encrypted, so only your device and their device can read the messages. What that means is your device has a key and a pair, which is keyed and paired with the other device on that chat. I'm not going to get bogged down, so techies in the chat, don't shoot me down here. I'm making this simple for people to understand. Your device and their device will pair through the chat tunnel with each other, and only that device can read your messages and vice versa. So only those two devices will be able to read the messages and the content within it. What the bill does, which has now reached the point of waiting for royal assent, again, I'll come back to that later, what that has done is put the onus on tech platforms to report any illegal content within those messages. But they can't do that as it stands without breaking the encryption. And so it can't be both. As the saying often goes, it can't be both ways. It can't be entirely encrypted and safe between user A and B, and at the same time allow the tech platform the ability to scan messages for illegal content, such as self-harming, illicit children material, and all sorts of other things. All of which I agree is completely abhorrent and should not be discussed within messages and so on. So there is a raging debate between how much do we protect the privacy as against how much do we protect people from the dangers that are created by this illegal content. So to put this into a bit more context, there are, let's just say, certain groups of people that exchange certain kind of messages which between them organize and results in certain types of crimes, very often involving people, vulnerable people, and of course children. Now, the raging debate is between, should we maintain absolute privacy, or should we focus on being able to target those groups and shut those groups down that are using encrypted platforms to facilitate those crimes? That is the debate. Obviously, has been back and forth in Parliament and has ultimately resulted in a bill that is going for royal assent. Let's go back to the video once more.
I also don't imagine you've heard of the Trusted News Initiative. Now, as is often the case when a word like trusted is used as part of an acronym to describe an unelected body, trust is the last thing you should be offering.
Obviously a subjective assessment there, so no endorsement from me here. This is just a subjective view, but let's carry on.
The Trusted News Initiative is a collaboration between big tech and legacy media organizations to target, control, choke and shut down independent media organizations like this one.
And just pausing there, and I think that's the last thing I'm going to comment on this video, because otherwise it just wraps up. But moving to what is this Trusted News Initiative, this is targeting fake news, disinformation, misinformation, and indeed it is a collaboration between news outlets and big tech. So predominantly most of the main news corporations here, and of course Google, YouTube, etc., and so on. And so rightly or wrongly, whether you agree or not, what they aim to do is provide a trusted news outlet. And what I think is strange about Russell Brand's comment here is that he says that this initiative is designed to shut down channels like his. Now, whether that is on some level him admitting that either they believe that his content is fake news, misinformation and so on, or whether it is just perceived to be, or whether he's just accused of doing that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to comment on any of the specifics of what he's put out in videos. He has done that. And as I said, those have not been absolutely censored. In other words, none of the platforms, to my knowledge, have prevented him from uploading content at all, which they can do. YouTube is known for suspending a user's ability to upload content if they disagree with the content that they've uploaded. What they have done, I accept, is to remove the monetization, which many of you will understandably believe that this just makes it completely pointless for him to upload content anyway. But like I said, a bit of a strange comment in that he suggests that this Trusted News Initiative is to target organizations like his, whereas from my view, an objective view, this is not to say that this is correct, and this is not to say that this is exactly how it will work, but from my view, what it is designed to do is to target misinformation and to keep the news that is circulated to be factual, objective, and unbiased. And that is the code that any company that wants to call itself a news company needs to adhere to under Ofcom rules and various other things, which is remaining unbiased. And if you do provide an opinion, you provide an equal and opposite opinion, or you just keep it neutral. Now, while my channel here is not a news company, I do try to keep it neutral and objective and unopinionated, much as I am here. So to be clear, nothing in my video here is against Russell Brand, and it's not supporting him either. It is my view and my reaction to what he's said and what I think about a few of those things. Occasionally you ask me for my opinion. If I do provide you my opinion, I make it clear that it's my opinion and that you're free to disagree with it. I also provide you the context with which to go and either watch it or read it or make your own opinion of whatever it was that I'm talking about. And usually I separate those off onto a different channel, Black Belt Secrets, which you'll find linked in the description below. Please do head there and subscribe. You'll find many of my opinions on various things there. And I'll make that clear that that is my opinion as well. And again, you're free to disagree with my opinion, because opinions generally are not worth very much. Everybody has an opinion. It is worth an interest to somebody else if they're interested in your opinion. But when it comes to cold hard fact or adjudicating a wrong, then we only rely on expert opinions or findings of fact, and those are made by a judge or a jury. So I hope you found that an interesting overview. Thank you, of course, for allowing me the few moments to thank my partner for this video. And please take your privacy seriously. This is, and these issues seriously. This is a very difficult debate between how much do we protect privacy between users as against targeting those that are running these rings with the security, quite literally security of encryption to prevent law enforcement authorities from finding those groups, targeting those groups and shutting those criminal rings down. So an interesting discussion and debate. Obviously, please leave your respectful comments in the box below. And I thank you all so much for watching.